Now, what's the plan in terms of the currency? The plan was to contain this meteoric fall of the currency. Meteoric fall of the currency. And it had what? It had gone to what?
162 shillings.
To the USD.
Yes, sir.
Guy. And then we went to the market. We did this thing called the Euro bond. Kidogo, we started saying, hiya, coming down.
The next day, literally.
Down. What's the latest?
127.
This is the CBK rate as of yesterday.
Let's go to CBK for yesterday. US dollar.
Top.
Where?
Do you go?
Where?
How you yuko? Sino yona. Ya kwanza.
Kwanza ni Hong Kong. US dollar. No, this is from, I don't even know when this is. For one, it cannot be.
Buying at 157, selling 157, mean 150. Which date is that?
It says...
that's the 1st of April.
Yeah, so that's 1st of January.
Surely.
That's the 1st of January. So let's look at the 16th of April.
Go to 15th.
US dollar. Who cares?
Go to 15th. At least show us yesterday. 15 years. Not to enjoy Anyway, the guy who knows this thing spends his time on the markets and advising people on where to put their money is our next guest. Okay? His name is Alex Kamau. He's a business consultant. He's here. He's been here many times before. Alex, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Eric.
You're well?
Yes, I'm well.
Very good. Just tell us, yesterday, how much was it going for? CBK rate?
CBK rate 131 against US dollar.
131 to the D, to the dollar?
Yes, to the dollar.
Why? Hey. And this is coming from a high of? Or a low of?
Yes, from a high of about 160 shillings per dollar. Per dollar.
Yeah, there it is. US dollar CBK rate 130.4.
0.4.
That was as of yesterday.
The pound 162. Euro 138. Siki, siti unaonaje maneno?
You know me, these things confuse me.
Completely. Very good. That's why Alex is here.
Yes.
Alex, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much.
At least City is not confused when he goes to Cape Verde and mines proverbs and brings them.
No.
And for example, he will not be confused when he tells us the system of government in Cape Verde is semi-presidential, autonomous,
unitary, semi-presidential republic, just that you understand.
Unitary, semi-presidential republic. What does that mean?
Well, one, unitary means they're united, just so that you understand.
Semi is half. And the presidential is president.
The way this thing works, you know, many countries have a vice president, then some have a prime minister, then you mention, these fellows have a president, prime minister, done, dusted. Story meisha hapo.
No parliament.
Parliament iko. Parliament iko. But you see, the prime minister, it's like they have what you may call a parliamentary and a presidential system all combined into one.
It's a thing BBI was trying to give us.
Yes, it's because the prime minister does have power. Okay.
And the president is elected.
Yes, and the president also does have power.
Right.
So that's why they call it what they call it.
BBI, eh? This is where these guys are gone. I can see Paul Mwangi. We'll ask him. Did you study Cape Verde? Or did you write the Cape Verde Constitution, Paul Mwangi?
And by the way, talking of currencies and the yo-yoing of the shilling against the dollar, their currency is called a Cape Verdean escudo. That's their shilling. The shilling is called an escudo.
Escudo.
Yes.
Okay.
Their shilling is called an escudo?
Yes. Okay, should I say their dollar is called an escudo?
Okay.
The proverb.
Okay.
Okay. The dog's happy dream produces no meat.
The dog's happy dream produces no meat. Alex, what's your interpretation?
The dog's happy dream produces no meat. It means that faith without action is dead. That no matter how much you believe in the happening of something, dreams don't work themselves. You have to work the dream for it to work.
Very good. This proverb of today might as well have been sponsored by ICEA Lion.
Yes. Yeah.
Plan, bila action. Bure.
Activate your plan.
Activate your plan. Okay. So, the shilling is behaving like that.
Yes.
The market is behaving the way it's behaving. We saw the headline again. One of the headlines in the papers yesterday was talking about the rates.
Yes.
Okay, and the lending rates to the government. Today's headline is talking retail investors overtake parastatals and insurance companies in buying government paper. That's T-bills and bonds. So retail investors were saying it's CT, me, and Do. And now, Alex, of course, now you're an institution. You know, big time.
Yes.
But also, yesterday, there was the issue of the latest T-bill and the rates and the way they've dropped. They've dropped to the lowest they've been during how many years? And this is also having another impact there. So what is that's happening with our, with our currency? And then we'll come into our markets.
Okay.
Why is the shilling dropping? Or gaining? Okay. Why is the shilling gaining?
Yes, the reason the shilling is gaining is because there are three uses to money. One is speculative. We have precautionary and transactionary. The reason the shilling is gaining this time around is because of the first one, the speculative use of money. That there are some people, investors who hold money waiting for a good opportunity for them to buy things when they are cheap. In this case, investors had hoarded dollars waiting for the Kenyan government when it would be going to the market to buy dollars so that we can repay the 2 billion US Eurobond. Though that did not happen because instead of the Kenyan government sourcing for dollars internally, they went externally. So the people who had hoarded money in the name of speculating, they had to release the money into the market. And currently we have the quantity of dollar or supply of the dollar in the market. It is quite high. So, and that's the reason because of the forces of demand and supply, the supply is high and the demand is not high. That's why the dollar has received a beating by the Kenyan currency. This situation is supposed to be very temporary, is because as time goes by, Kenya is a net importer. So the stock that we have for dollars, we will continue to use, and with time we will deplete it. And once we deplete it, we go back to square one. And actually, also by the time we are going to June 2024, when we will be repaying the 2 billion USD Eurobond, the money will vanish. These dollars that we have will vanish. We could be having it somewhere, and it is giving us a false hope that it is money we have for good. But it's money that the countdown has started the time has started to tick. It's only a matter of time we give out that money.
Okay,
I don't get it.
Hang on a minute. I'm sorry. So what? It sounds as though you're saying that this miraculous thing that has happened over the last 1.5 months, whereby the dollar has done the shilling has done the thing. So now we're looking at 130.
Yes.
That it's artificial.
It is artificial.
How can that be artificial? Because what you're insinuating here is that, so it would look as though there's a lot of dollars in the market. That's why the shilling then has gained on it.
Yes.
But that is not the case, and that it's only temporary. What would make those two things happen? Artificial and temporary. Why?
I would say it is artificial because these dollars that we have not earned those dollars. Actually, we have borrowed. If you would say it is the productivity of our economy that has increased and we are doing more exports, that by doing more exports we are getting more foreign currency, then we would say it is sustainable. But this time around, it's money that we have borrowed in terms of Eurobond, and it's only a matter of time that we give out that money. But as any other person, it's called behavioral science or behavioral finance, because we have some money somewhere, some dollars somewhere. It is giving us this false perception that we are safe. but it's only a matter of time. By June 2024, we release the money, and then the panic is likely to hit the market.
Who's releasing the money in June?
In June, as we pay the maiden Euro bond that we procured in the year 2024.
I thought we've already paid 1.5 of it.
And
the other 500 we've been paying dog.
I wouldn't say we have paid, because the due date to pay is 24th June. There was some allegations that we might decide to pay to buy it back before the due date. But to the best of my knowledge is that we are waiting for the due date to repay. And actually, there would be no good reason for us to repay early, because this money that we have, we can still invest it for a month and get some good returns on it.
But let me ask this question.
Yes.
Beyond the reasons that you've given,
yes,
could there be any other reasons why it is the shilling seems to have resurrected and has gained strength against the dollar?
Absolutely no any other reason, because the main reason, the one that we would say it is something positive, is if we have increased our productivity, because we have not seen the GDP of Kenya rise skyrocket within a month. We have not seen the fundamentals of the country change within this period of time. The only factor that is new is the issue of the Eurobond. That's the only factor that has triggered what we are seeing. And when we ask why also the Kenyan shilling has gained against Uganda, is because the Kenyan shilling has gained against US dollar. Ugandans, instead of buying US dollars directly using exchanging Ugandan shillings to dollar, they decide first to buy Kenya shillings, convert Ugandan shillings to Kenya shillings, then they procure the US dollar. Because currently the Kenyan shilling is procuring more dollars than we were doing before. So they would, any other rational, reasonable investor would avoid converting Ugandan shillings directly to the dollar. You first convert to Kenya shillings, then using Kenya shillings, you'll buy more dollars.
So essentially, because of this, then the demand for the Kenya shilling in some sectors has grown.
And that is very artificial, because the way now the Kenyan shilling is gaining against the Ugandan shilling. It's not because we are doing more trade. It's not because we are importing more goods and services to Uganda. It's only because they are using our currency to procure the dollar.
Let me perhaps segue a little bit and give reason as to why I asked the question.
Yes.
If, let's say, for instance, let's take this hypothetical situation where it seems it would appear apparent that we may actually default on the Eurobond. What would that do with regards to the confidence of lending institutions, the global lending institutions, and the partners who we trade with?
In the event that
there is a likelihood that we are going to default.
Yes. Our credit rating would have received a beating.
Precisely. And then what would that do to the shilling?
That would weaken the shilling.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we saying that the current situation that we are in, such a threat does not exist?
It does not exist.
Why?
Because we have already gone to the market, and the market has been very generous to us and has given us money, both locally and internationally.
How is that a good thing? Because if we've borrowed more, and we've borrowed in dollar, and we are paying in dollars, and as you say, the situation we're in now is artificial. So the time when we'll be required to pay, the artificial situation that we're in will have disappeared. And we'll have gone back to what one may refer to as the factory settings of the shilling having done a belly up, isn't it? So how exactly will we have benefited from this whole thing? Because it's like we've jumped from the fire. Is it the frying pan into the fire?
Exactly.
Yes.
Tumekunywa tu nini paracetamol.
Yes.
The headache.
Now,
brain surgery is still needed. So, is it possible then for some of the things that we are seeing, if you're talking about the current situation being founded on in artificial nature, really, because we borrowed money to pay off this loan, right? Part of it at least. And then suddenly you have all this money in the market. But this money is borrowed money. It's institutions who put in this money in order for you to then be clean on that, on the record book. So far, correct?
Yes.
However, we are seeing resultant effects of that money. For example, what we're being told, fuel prices have come down for the 5th month in a row, can be attributed to now the gains that the Kenya shilling has made.
That's true.
As a result of that, we will see, the cost of things actually then coming down, because the cost of fuel also will come down, right?
Yes.
Can you say that these gains that are being made then can still be done on a foundation of an artificial nature?
Yes.
Can that happen? Because these in some way will be long term.
Yes. The issue of the fuel coming down and some prices of goods coming down, because basically we have seen inflation come down from a high of about 9% to about 6% as we speak. Inflation has come down, so meaning the prices of goods are coming down. There are two things. There are two things to that, and one, which is a bit to the negative, is because there is no money in circulation. There is no money in circulation. So what is happening? Producers, once they produce their goods and services, they are not able to get good demand for their goods and services. So what happens? They decide now to lower prices. Again, the issue of forces of supply and demand. Right now, people and generally in the economy, everyone is crying, there's no money.
What does that mean when you say there's no money in circulation?
But the reason why the Kenya shilling
hapana sina 100. Last week nilikuwa na 100, leo sina 100. It's because you're broke. It's not
Yes.
So when you say there's no...
Where's the money gone?
Or there is a reduction.
Yes.
If there is a reduction in the circulation of money...
Yes.
Is this some garden variety reduction, or is it one of these hair-raising reductions where we should actually tremble and fear in trepidation as we consider a terrible outcome? Because if there is money and we say it's not in circulation, so where has the money gone?
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's a deliberate effort by the government. Number one, the government, through the fiscal policies that it has come up with, it has increased the interest. It has increased taxes. It has increased taxes. For instance, we saw the high tax band for pay as you earn move from 30% to 35%. And as much as people would think that that 5% tax band applies to people who are earning above 800,000,
percentage of people.
Not really. What actually happens if you are a second employer somewhere? If you are a second employer somewhere, if you are a secondary employee somewhere, like myself, I teach in various universities. So every other university that I teach as a part-time, I'm considered a secondary employee. If I'm earning 100,000 there, for instance, I'm deducted that 5% because I'm a secondary employee. Secondary employees, anywhere, they are deducted pay as you earn using the highest tax band.
Oh, very crucial. Yes, so it's not only for those who are earning above 800,000.
No,
it's also to anybody who is a secondary employee.
Yes.
So it's more people who've been hit by that 35%.
Very many people. Very many people.
So we've also seen the introduction of the housing levy.
Yes, the housing
1.5%.
Yes,
we're coming into health.
Yes.
So basically, more and more money is getting out of your income.
NSSF at 6%.
Okay.
So And so at the end of the day, the purchasing power of Kenyans has been highly reduced. Okay. Highly reduced. So that's number one. Number two is the issue of government spending. The government has actually reduced its spending. And the economy grows when the government spends money.
Doctor, you have to explain, what do you mean the government has reduced its spending? Is it that we've cut our budget? Is it that we are no longer spending what we used to spend within the various ministries? What is it?
That's true. Like now, the budget that we are looking forward to be read in the by June this year, we are looking forward at a budget of a proposed budget of 4.2 trillion. Out of that 4.2 trillion, 1.2 trillion will go towards repaying the debts. 1.2. So we are left with 3 trillion. Out of the 3 trillion, 2.3 trillion will go towards recurrent expenditure. So paying the salaries and paying maintenance of various assets of the government. It's only about 800 billion that will be used to do the infrastructure development expenditure. So whenever the government reduces the amount that it spends in development expenditure, building dams, building bridges, building all that, then, and it is using more money to repay the debts, 1.2 trillion out of the country.
But Dr. This 4 trillion is aspirational. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
We know how much we collect.
That's true.
It's just about 2.
Yes. So this phantom 2 point something that we're talking about actually doesn't exist. So we're going to be spending money we don't have.
We have always done that for the longest. We have even the budget that we read, the one that is operational, 2023 to 2024.
Yeah.
Same story.
So basically, if you're still fulizing, but then you've reduced on
the amount,
the cultural establishment that you're going to. You fuliza, but then instead of going every evening, you only go once a week. Now that bar will have to close. Okay, so no, sorry, not bar. That
cultural establishment.
That's the impact you're having.
Yes.
So according to the people who work in that establishment, there is less money in circulation. But let's take a break. Hakuna pesa. Hakuna customer. Our guest this morning is Dr. Alex Kamau. Dr. Kamau is a business consultant. He understands several things about money and about the economy. He's here today. We are asking, so we are seeing the shilling gaining. As of yesterday, 130. That's a CBK exchange rate.
Yep.
Mean of 130 to the dollar. What does that mean? We have seen the government coming out to say, you see the measures that we've taken, they are helping, they are improving, cost of living is coming down. We've seen the First Lady saying, Tuliomba. You can see. Mahoyane, Makinyu. Doctor, you're saying this, as far as you can tell, is artificial. By June, then we'll start now resetting back to our factory settings, well, back to the status quo ante. And this is because we haven't increased anything. But then,
yes,
several things may have changed in terms of, if, for example, we were importing, have we reduced our import bill?
Yes, slowly the imports are reducing because again you import in large quantities of anything, then and there's no demand locally, so you end up not making as many trips to China as you would before,
right?
Because of the issue of reduced money circulation in the economy. Yes.
Somebody's saying they don't understand what you said when you said, because the government has reduced its spending,
yes,
there's less shilling in circulation,
yes,
then that also is having another effect on the economy.
Yes.
It's like you're saying the government should not reduce its spending.
Actually, the reason I'm saying the government has reduced its spending is because this government is actually prioritizing debt payment. And when we say 1.2 trillion will be repaid to the people who had lent the money to the government, it means the government is not spending on projects that would have otherwise spurred the economy. And to make the matter worse, we are seeing a situation when the government is so aggressive in terms of giving attractive rate of return. We have seen high net worth investors who had so much money in the bank, to a tune of even 100 million, going to the bank and telling the bank, I want to withdraw the amount of money I had invested with you or I had saved with you, because you are giving me maybe a rate of return of 7%. And this person goes and buys infrastructure bond at a rate of about 18%. So when that happens, we are seeing the bank actually they use as a mediator, that they create a market between the savers and the investors. So someone who has excess capital, they go to the bank, they tell the bank, give me a rate of return of about maybe 5%, and someone else who wants to borrow that money goes to the same bank, and you are given maybe at a rate of 15%. But now the banks are not able to continue for long handling that kind of a transaction, because the people who are saving with the banks, they are no longer saving with the banks, they are going to to buy government bonds. And that situation is so worse that the small banks, the tier 3 banks, they have started to shake, because initially the tier 1 banks, they were not negotiating with the savers. You would go and tell the tier 1 bank that I have 100 million I would want to save with you, and they would say, I am giving you a rate of return of 5%. Yes, right. If you don't want, we are not negotiating with you. So that person would go to a tier 2, tier 3 bank. And tier 2, tier 3 would say, we are willing to negotiate with you and we'll give you 10%. Right now, because the government has become so aggressive, even the tier 1 banks, they are struggling to get people to save with them. So they now have started to compete with tier 3 banks. So anyone that would go to their office, to their shops, they are saying, can we negotiate? But tier 3 banks now are finding themselves in a very challenging situation.
When we talk about the government paying debts,
yes,
that statement is not entirely true.
Yes,
because we seem to be more concerned about external debts.
Yes,
there's something in this country we call pending bills.
Yes.
If the government sought and was serious about actually paying citizens whom they've done business with, don't you think that circulation we are speaking of would actually increase? Because when we're looking at pending bills, what is it now, 700 billion?
Yep.
700 billion shillings pumped into the economy.
Yes.
Surely we will feel the movement, won't we?
But now the problem, those are two different types of debts. And if you want,
as a layman, it's a debt.
It's a debt.
Yes.
There are those debts that are secured by the government, that before the government pays anything else, it has to pay those debts. Like the debt for when we are repaying the treasury bills, treasury bonds or euro bond. Those one, even before we pay the salaries.
First charge.
Yes, it's first charge to the consolidated fund account. But this other one, city, you go and build a road somewhere. That's a debt that you can wait as long as a year, 2 years.
We have a problem there, don't we?
A big one.
In terms, because what was happening at the time before we saw this, floating in March, was that there was pressure, essentially, to pay off part of this loan.
Yes.
And I kept asking, and I think I'm still at that point whereby here we are saying that the current situation is artificial, that it will not last, and that it's possible that the Kenya shilling will then again fall. The weakening will return, it will reoccur.
Yes.
But what would have been the solution at the time, beyond introducing all this money into the economy to then allow for this situation to be diffused? What should have been done that would have avoided this situation? Because the artificialness of the situation right now means that in a very short time, I mean, we're saying June, that we will essentially go back when money again is due and it is not enough to then pay what is due, with all the other things that need to be done, we will go back to a January, February situation. That's what we're saying. But what could have been done to have taken care of the situation at the time and then avoided this current situation today?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Number one is the way this Eurobond was structured was not structured in the best way possible. It was not a very effective way of structuring because we borrowed in 2014 and we said we'll do a bullet payment in 2024. Actually, the ones that we have now borrowed, this one for 1.5 billion USD, we have not committed to pay a one-off payment. We have said we'll pay in 3 different tranches. So even this one for 2014, we would have said we would pay maybe 50% of it by 2018, another 25% by 2020, and another 25% maybe by 2024. By doing so, we would not have felt that pressure. So what should have done is better structuring. Beyond that, I would also say that when we went to borrow for this Eurobond, we committed a higher interest rate for that, even compared with the other economies that are doing worse than us. Because a country like Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and Benin, they still went to the same market to procure Eurobonds, and they were given at an interest rate of about 8.75% per annum, whereas us, we are going for about 10%. So we
same place that these guys went to, the same place we went to.
Yes, same place that we went to.
Who are these people who negotiate on our behalf? I mean, I don't want their names. I mean, I'm just asking, what sort of people, what do they do? These people who go to negotiate for us?
That's the big question. I think they were a bit scared because the problem that we were facing about debt default would have been so catastrophical than even us getting this debt at a higher rate. So we were trying to avert a crisis. And
we had a date. We had a set date. We had a set June 30th.
Yes.
That you have to deal with. If you don't take action fast enough, then the longer you wait, the more the market will come and tell you, umerudi. Sasa kuna 15%. Mzee amesema hiyo haiwezekani.
This thing.
Many questions, right?
No, man, far too many questions. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. Alex.
Yes.
The current CBK governor has previously told us that his predecessor and his regime were artificially holding up the shilling.
Yes.
Was that bad?
Yes.
Is he doing it now, or should he do it now?
I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that to be true.
You don't think there was any artificial manipulation of the shilling?
Yes, because there are 3 types of exchange rate systems. We have a floating rate system, we have fixed rate system, and we have a hybrid. And the one that we use, and we have been using since around the liberalization of the Kenyan economy around early 1990s, it has been floating rate. And for you to actually run a fixed rate system, you must be having a lot of dollars in your reserves. That in case the dollar is demanded more, and because now you're having a fixed rate system, if the increase of dollars is if the demand for dollar increases within the economy, and you don't have adequate supply of that dollar, so what would happen? The price of that dollar would go up.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So in a country like us, where we don't have a ample stock of dollars, we would not be able to manage such a system. Because in countries that have an ample stock of dollars, whenever there's a surge in demand for dollars, they release more dollars in the economy from their CBK, from their central bank. Because it's like the issue of fuel. If you can remember when there was when the government had put a price ceiling on fuel, and the government had said they don't sell more than 150.
Yeah.
But the traders in that sector, they were saying we cannot sell at 150 because we are buying it at a higher cost.
Yeah.
So what happened? There was scarcity of fuel. Those people, the producers or the traders,
all marketing companies.
Yes, the traders, they have the fuel, but they don't want to sell. Same thing that would have happened in Kenya. If we were trying to
tinker with it,
yes, is to artificially manipulate the exchange rate, we would have encountered a big challenge, because for you to do that, you must have the power to release dollars and to call.
Are you saying there was no government hand at all that helped to sustain the shilling at 120 and below?
I would say no. I would say no because it has like right now we are actually below the recommended import cover. We are supposed to have savings at the CBK equivalent to more than 4 months amount of dollars that are required to pay for imports.
Yeah.
Right now it is about 3.8. So if we are saying we are at about 10 times the import cover, then we would say, yes, we had the muscle. Anytime the dollar would be needed at a higher level, we would control and release dollars in the market. So we would now be said to artificially control. Otherwise, if you don't have ample stock of dollars, you cannot artificially control it.
But Dr. Ari, the central bank, given the roles that it has, surely it has within its arsenal tools that it is actually supposed to use to stabilize our currency. It's not an illegality that they're performing. There's something called a bank rate, okay? They have that mandate, they have that leeway, it's something they can do. The world over, they do it. So when the current governor of the central bank talks about what his predecessor was doing, he seems to be imputing some ill intent and suggesting that perhaps what Dr. Njoroge was involved in was some nefarious activities. And yet, it's the central bank's mandate to ensure that not only is our currency stable, but it is their job to protect us.
That's true. But the use of those tools, they have a limit.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So at what point then can one say that they have misused the tool?
That's a good question. And that's why for me, I don't believe that was the case. Okay. I don't believe that was the case.
You don't see how that happened?
Yes. Unless if a country had ample stock of dollars, you would release so that to reduce that pressure on dollar.
Right.
And if you feel it is too much, again, you would recall it. But we don't have that luxury. And actually, just to go back a bit, when we say that we are doing very well because of the Kenyan currency has appreciated against the dollar, the question to ask is the last time that the Kenyan shilling was exchanging to dollar at 130 shillings, what was the interest? What was the CBR rate? The CBR rate by then was about 8.5%. So today the CBR rate is 13%. So if today we want the Kenyan currency to exchange at 120 vis-a-vis the dollar, what we need to do is to push the CBR rate to 20%.
And that can be done by making a decision. From what you're saying, it's just so easily change the rate.
It would be disastrous in other sectors. But what we are saying, when we say that the exchange rate right now is 130 against the dollar, what is the CBR rate? And let's compare when we were at 130 a while back.
Previously, yes.
What was the CBR rate? It was about 8.5%. So if we are at 8.5% like we were that at the time, we would say, we are doing better.
But other indicators that actually would make what you're saying less temporary, again, is if we were exporting more.
If we are, yes.
So we could argue that we are earning a great deal in foreign exchange.
Yes.
And yet, our foreign exchange earnings come from remittances.
Predominantly.
Yes.
And right now, actually, we are also closing that tap. because you see even the way the increase of passport processing, even the one
we are reducing our human exports.
Yes. Even it's we are not headed in the best of directions.
Diaspora remittances up 19% in the first quarter as inflationary pressure eases. This is a story in the Business Daily. Kenyans living and working abroad sent home $1.2 billion during the first 3 months of this year, marking an 18.8% jump from the inflows recorded in a similar period of last year on the back of easing inflationary pressure in developed economies. So Kenyans abroad in the first 3 months of this year, sent in more money.
Yes.
Uko kwao, the inflation is reducing, so they have a bit more cash, so they're able to send us a bit more money. If much of this is actually, much of our inflows come from diaspora, what should we do to encourage them to send us more money?
Okay, tax them.
Hold their families. You know,
these remittances, if you talk to and listen to what Kenyans go through to be able to send this money, it isn't as though they have so much money and they've decided, why don't we just send some home? No. The sending home of this money involves some serious belt tightening on their behalf.
That's true.
They want to make sure that their loved ones back home don't suffer. So it's not out of plenty. They deny themselves so that they can actually send that money.
That's true. Okay? That's true.
Now, for the longest time, there was always this debate, and this government did well when they actually created a State Department that deals with the diaspora. To their credit, it is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
But then, much as this is useful, with every government policy on taxation, are we ever really going to get to a point where we are going to be exporting more? Because to export more, it means you produce more. To produce more, it means you're able to produce at a competitive rate.
Yes.
And yet everything that we look at in the economy does not lend itself to that reality that I'm speaking of. Yes.
That's true. Because currently the tax rates are quite high, even the cost of production in the manufacturing sector.
Yes.
When we talk about cost of electricity, cost of water, and so at the end of the day, we are not able to competitively compete with our neighboring countries.
Why was it so quick? And I know time is running down, but we looked at January 2023. I was just looking at the numbers now. January 2023, the shilling to the dollar was around 128 shillings.
Yes.
By the time the year ran out, we were easily at 140.
Yes.
Coming into this new year, 150, and then well into 162.
Yes.
But then in 1 month, we've seen it go from 162 to 130.
Yes.
Why would that happen so quickly? When it took so long to build?
Actually, I had anticipated that it would have gone to about 200, because the nearer we were going to the June 2024, the more panic we were having in the market vis-a-vis in terms of the strength of the Kenyan currency and our ability to repay that 2 billion euro bond. So it was getting worse as we were nearing. And that's why the government, I said, did the right thing by all means to ensure that we avert that looming crisis. So the moment that situation was diffused, that's why we saw now the Kenyan currency gain so much against the dollar and against other currencies. So it is true, after we repay this Eurobond on June, in June, we are not likely to go back to where we were in January this year, because we are there in January this year because of the danger that...
There was speculation.
Yes, there was speculation.
It's anticipation of danger. Kamati ya Rochafu were just sitting there thinking, you will come for my dollar.
Yes.
Okay. So you still think it will not be at 130 come September?
It will not be at 130.
What do you think it will be?
It will be higher than 130, probably towards 140, 150 there, because the way, even the current situation that we are having, where the government is not very keen to ensure it incentivizes the agricultural production, and agriculture is our backbone of our economy. The kind of stories that we are witnessing, even the fertilizer that is supposed to be subsidized, yes, it is subsidized, but the quality is questionable. Instead of adding value to the soil, it is doing the opposite.
Value.
Yes, depleting value. So there is somewhere that we are having. We are doing it the wrong. We are using the wrong approach, and but I feel it is still possible that for us to be positive, that the future will be better than it is right now.
We are praying, Bwana. Dr. Alex Kamau is an economist, he's a lecturer, he's a business consultant. He's been our guest.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.